Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. Today's video is my summer TBR. I've recently begun doing quarterly TBRs instead of monthly TBRs. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about all the books that I'm hoping to read in the months of July, August, and September. I know for a lot of people summer starts in June, but I live in New York City where my kids aren't out of school till the end of June and summer really gets going in July, so this is how I'm doing my quarterly TBR system. Do with that what you will. Here's what you can expect from this video. I'm going to tell you all the books I have for book clubs and read-alongs, a couple of books for special projects, and then a whole bunch of books that I have for review. Note that these are all tentative. It is likely that I will not get to all of these books during the following months, but it is going to give you a pretty good idea of what you can expect to see on my channel in the coming season, and hopefully clue you into some exciting upcoming releases that are on my radar. With that said, let's go ahead and dive in, beginning with all of my read-alongs and book club picks. We're going to start with the book club that I run for patrons and channel members. Every month, patrons get to vote on a book that we read together and discuss at the end of the month. I pick the theme, they help me come up with the list of things that go in the poll, and then the winning book is what we will all read together. So, in the month of July, we're doing a mystery thriller because I feel like I always want to read mystery thrillers in July. It seems like the summery thing to do. The book that ended up winning was How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. I'm really excited for this. It's a historical, kind of cozier murder mystery from what I understand. It says it's for fans of Knives Out and the Thursday Murder Club, an enormously fun mystery about a woman who spends her entire life trying to prevent her foretold murder, only to be proven right 60 years later when she is found dead in her sprawling country estate. Now it's up to her great niece to catch the killer. This sounds like a lot of fun. I've heard really good things about it, and I'm excited to read and discuss with everyone. Then in August, the theme was romance with disability representation, and the book that was chosen was Where Shadows Lie by Allegra Pescatore. This is a queer fantasy romance with wheelchair representation, which I think is cool. I don't know that I've really seen that. The chosen one is dead. Only his sister can take his place. Disabled since childhood, Eleanor was content to live in her brother's shadow, besting her cousins at cards and sneaking her girlfriend into her room at night. Now she's next in line for the throne and beset on all sides by factions out for blood. With time ticking down until someone manages to kill her too, Eleanor will be forced to choose between accepting her father's despotic rule or risking everything for her late brother's lofty ideals. Meanwhile, there's other things happening. This sounds really fun. It says, filled with intrigue, romance, and an adorable baby dragon, this Own Voices Gaslamp epic fantasy puts a disabled LGBTQ+ protagonist front and center. Very excited to read this one. I hadn't heard about it until a patron suggested it, and I'm really looking forward to it. Finally, in September, the theme is Adventures in Space, and I was very pleased to see that the winner was Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. I will be stealing my husband's books for this. I've been wanting to try the Expanse series. I've watched the first season of the TV show and I liked it. It was just a kind of a big daunting series that was on my eventually to read list, but I'm going to be reading the first book in September and we will be discussing, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. The other thing I'm doing is the Mass Effect read-along, which is over a couple of years reading through every single book Sarah J. Maas has ever written. We've been doing live shows, discussing kind of the pros and the cons, seeing what holds up, what doesn't, and it's kind of publication order, but not exactly, a little bit different. So here are the books I'm going to be reading for that. In July, we are doing A Court of Thorns and Roses, which should be interesting. This is not my favorite series from her, but I'm curious to see how I feel revisiting it. In August, we're going back to Throne of Glass and reading Queen of Shadows. It's a hefty one. The books are getting longer. And then finally in September, we are reading A Court of Mist and Fury. So those are the 3 Sarah J. Maas books I will be rereading in the summer months. Then a couple other books I'm hoping to read this summer before I get into things I have for review. First, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil anything, but I do exclusive video content every month for some of my patrons and channel members, and the prompt that was chosen from my suggestion jar that people add to has me reading a book for a video in July, and that is To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monoquill Blackgoose, Really excited for this. I've been wanting a reason to read it, so it worked out for what the prompt was. A young indigenous woman enters colonizer-run Dragon Academy and quickly finds herself at odds with the approved way of doing things in the first book of a brilliant new fantasy series. Very excited to read this. I also have the audiobook, so that is definitely happening. And then the other thing that I want to read sooner than later, because I just got my pre-order, is Mirrored Heavens by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the third and concluding volume of a series that I have been really, really loving. It's an incredible fantasy series that is drawing on indigenous history and mythology from the Americas. It's so good. Very excited to see how it concludes. So those are all of the things that I'm reading that are not for review. Next, I'm going to show you the stack of physical books that I have for review in the coming summer months. And then we'll go through all of the far too many NetGalley ARCs that I have for review in the summer months. If you know, you know, I'm trying to read down my NetGalley TBR, so expect probably in July to see another video project aimed at doing just that. It is coming, but it is many. But first with the physical books. We have Yoke of Stars by R.B. Lemberg. Really excited for this. It's a new novella in the Birdverse. I loved, what was the other one? The Unbalancing. That was the other book that I read in this universe. Really unique, queer, interesting world building, great character development, and this one is really short, so I'm excited to read that. I may try to pick up The Wren and the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. I like the cover, and the vibes of this seem really cool. It's like a dark academia fantasy romance from what I understand. I don't know how good it is. I've heard some good things, but I want to give it a shot. Oh, and I didn't tell you when these things are coming out. I should probably do that. This goes on sale July 16th. This is already out, came out in June, but I got it kind of late. Then coming out in August, we have Asunder by Kirsten Hall. Sabriel meets For the Wolf in this beguiling new standalone novel. We choose our own gods here. Karis Eska is a death speaker locked into an irrevocable compact with Sebaster, a terrifying eldritch being, three-faced, hundred-winged, unforgiving, who has granted her the ability to communicate with the newly departed. She pays the rent by using her abilities to investigate suspicious deaths around the troubled city she calls home. When a job goes sideways and connects her to a dying stranger with some very dangerous secrets, her entire world is upended, etc. So this sounds interesting. I've heard some good things about it, so I want to give that a try. Also coming out in August is A Bon Me for Two by Trinity Nguyen. This looks really cute. It's a YA sapphic rom-com with Vietnamese characters. In Saigon, Lan is always trying to be the perfect daughter, dependable and willing to care for her widowed mother and their banh mi stall. Her secret passion, however, is A Bon Me for Two, the food blog she started with her father but has stopped updating since his passing. Vietnamese-American Vivi has never been to Vietnam. Her parents rarely even talk about the homeland that clearly haunts them. Now a college freshman, Vivi has secretly chosen Vietnam for her first semester study abroad program. She's hungry for the truth about why her parents left, and for everything she's seen on A Bon Me for Two, the blog that inspired her to come. So then, of course, I think they fall for each other. It sounds really cool. It's a kind of a shorter novel. Excited to try that. I was sent a copy of this from Fierce Reads, so thank you to them. Then the author of a book coming out in September sent me a copy, which I'm very excited to pick up. This is The Seemingly Impossible Love Life of Amanda Dean by Anne Rose. This is a queer rom-com that sounds like a lot of fun. It's her wedding day, and it'll be the happiest day of her life, won't it? Amanda Dean would say she's an okay artist and a loyal friend, but what she's best at is falling in love. A self-proclaimed bi-disaster who has had her heart broken more times than she cares to count, Amanda can't help opening herself up. As she gets ready on the day she's waited a lifetime for, memories of her past loves run through her mind, with one glaring red sign blinking above them. Is this the one? Sounds good. Excited to read it. Thank you to Anne for sending me a copy. Then we have a new fantasy novel from Jen Lyons. Very excited for that. The Sky on Fire. It's got dragons. Like, look at this. Love it. Coming out in July. A daring new fantasy heist adventure that will thrill fans of Temeraire, Fourth Wing, and Dragon Riders of Pern. Sounds super fun. It's a standalone fantasy combining conniving dragons, lightning banter, high-stakes intrigue, and a little bit of heat. Yes, thank you to Tor for that. Coming out in October, but I'm still throwing it in here because I want to read it, and it's short. We have a novella. This is The Bloodless Princes by Charlotte Bond. It's being pitched as Orpheus meets a natural history of dragons and a tale of death, honor, and true love's embrace. I read the first novella in the series. I really enjoyed it. The second one I think is also sapphic. The first one was. I liked the writing, excited to see more in that world. Coming out in September is Flamboyance, The Queer Harlem Renaissance I Wish I'd Known by George M. Johnson. This looks really cool. It is a pretty brief illustrated nonfiction book that is for teenagers, talking about the queer Harlem Renaissance. Very interested in this. I feel like this would be something to kind of breeze through, but also like the illustrations are really cool. I love that they included the color illustrations in the ARC. Two more physical books, and both of these are from Forever Romance. First, coming out August 27th is I'll Have What He's Having by Adib Khorram. This is a queer contemporary rom-com that I think is very loosely drawing on When Harry Met Sally. We have a substitute teacher and I think a chef and a one-night stand and a misunderstanding, but then they reconnect when they didn't expect to. It sounds fun. And then finally, another queer romance, Hers for the Weekend by Helena Greer. I love this cover. I also really love Helena Greer's books. I've read two of them so far. They're both great. Look at the cover. She does great. Plus size queer women. The relationship is fake, but the feelings are real in this smart, sexy, romantic comedy. Very excited for this. It comes out August 27th. Again, thank you to Forever Romance for that. If that wasn't enough, I don't know how much of this I'm going to read this summer, y'all. I mean, some of this I won't, but I have a long list of e-arcs from different months that I need to get through. I'll get read eventually, or DNF'd if I don't like them, but they'll get read eventually. Will I get to all of them in the next 3 months? I don't know. Probably not, but you never know. We'll see. Never say never. In July, we have Sounds Like a Plan by Pamela Samuels-Young and Dwayne Alexander Smith. This is a contemporary romance. Reluctantly joining forces after discovering they've both been hired on the same missing person case, two rival black private investigators find their mutual dislike evolve into an undeniable attraction in this rollicking romantic thrill ride told in alternating perspectives. It sounds like fun. Excited to give it a try. Then we have The Melancholy of Untold History by Min-Soo Kang. I want to say this is like a literary sci-fi of some sort. A beautifully crafted, enriching saga inspired by East Asian mythology. A debut novel steeped in history like Kwang's Babel, epic in scope like Anthony Doerr's Cloud Cuckoo Land, and lyrically exciting like David Mitchell's Cloud Atlas. That's like some high comps there, interweaving four complex yet entertaining stories as they shape and create a nation's literary narrative through themes of love and grief. So I was right. It's kind of like a loosely speculative kind of literary book, so we're gonna give that a try. I have Girls Who Burn by M.K. Pagano. This is a YA thriller, a twisty, pulse-pounding, enemies to lovers thriller full of secrets, privilege, and murder. Set the summer before senior year. Sounds like fun. Okay. The camera overheated and I had a meeting, but now I'm back. So if the light looks different, which it may, because it's been an hour and a half. The next July book is Portrait of a Shadow by Mariam Matui. This is a YA kind of paranormal book. I read the last book by this author and I quite liked it, so I'm curious to see how this one goes. A missing sister, a mysterious boy, and a painting that holds the truth beneath its peeling edges. A tender horror story about the lengths we are willing to go to for truth and the ones we love. It sounds good, and I liked her writing in the first book I read from her. Then we have Do Me a Favor by Kathy Yardley. I absolutely loved Role Playing by her, which was her last rom-com, and this is the next book that she's coming out with. This says it is a delectable rom-com about a widowed cookbook writer and a divorced handyman who find that it's never too late for a fresh start. Those are all of the arcs that I have for July. In August, I have a bunch of other ones. We have The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. This is a queer romance that has to do with food in some way. Curious to see how this goes. Sacrificial Animals by Kaylee Peterson. This one is horror and it sounded really interesting. Inspired by Kaylee Peterson's own journey being adopted from Nanning, China in 1996 and growing up on a farm in Nebraska, this rich and atmospheric supernatural horror debut explores an ancient Chinese mythology. Very interested to see how that goes. It sounds great. She Who Knows by Nnedi Okorafor. I don't know that I even looked at what this is about. I just like Nnedi Okorafor's stuff. Part science fiction, part fantasy, and entirely infused with West African culture and spirituality, this novella offers an intimate glimpse into the life of a teenager whose coming of age will herald a new age for her world. Really enjoy the books that she writes. Sounds good. Come Out by Natalie C. Parker. This one I think is another queer horror novel, and it's YA. It's about queer teens who accidentally invoke a twisted spirit who promises help but delivers something sinister. Sounds interesting. I like the cover. Prince of the Palisades by Julian Winter. This is a queer YA rom-com, I believe. Young Royals meets Red, White, and Royal Blue in this heart-pumping romance when roguish Prince Jadon of Îles de la Rêverie is left in America to clean up his image after a horribly public breakup gone viral. Romance is not on the table. Carefully planned photo ops with puppies? Yes. Scheduled appearances with the Santa Monica elite? Absolutely. Rendezvous with a pink-haired, film-obsessed hottie from the private school where he's currently enrolled? This sounds like a lot of fun. I'm excited to check it out, and I've read from Julian Winters before, and his stuff's pretty good. The Crimson Crown by Heather Walter. This is another sapphic fairy tale retelling, which I'm very excited about. I'm sure you see a theme in the books that I'm picking. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most villainous of them all? Snow White's Dark Queen tells her side of the story in this queer, witchy reimagining of the classic fairy tale from the author of Malice. Looking forward to that. Hot Earl Summer by Erica Ridley. This is the latest book in a series that I love, The Wild Winchesters. They are historical rom-coms with a varied cast of characters that are diverse in many different ways, and I'm excited to see what happens in this one. I've been reading all of the books. The Seventh Veil of Salome by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, one of my favorite authors and an auto-author. This, for her, is a return to historical fiction, and we are following a Latina woman on the silver screen. I'm sure I'm going to love it because I always love her books. The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava is a contemporary romance featuring Indigenous main characters, which is really exciting, from Berkeley. I know there's been a lot of excitement about this. It looks great. A Chickasaw woman who can't catch a break serves up a little white lie that snowballs into much more in this witty, irresistible rom-com by a debut author. Love it. Finally, in August, we have the second installment in the Holly Horror series by Michelle Habes Corpora. I really enjoyed the first one, a really fun YA horror that is creepy. It's got a haunted house, a haunted doll element. It's drawing on a children's rhyme. I was a huge fan, and I'm excited to see what she does in book 2. Lastly, I have some books coming out in September that are on my TBR. Devils Kill Devils by Johnny Compton is another horror novel. I really liked his debut, The Spite House, and I'm curious to see what he does with the second book. This one is pitched as perfect for fans of Sylvia Moreno Garcia's Certain Dark Things and Southern Gothic horror. Love both of those. Johnny Compton brings his trademark terror and dread that readers fell in love with The Spite House to a new roster of monsters, angels, devils, vampires, and a heart-pounding race to save the world. Sounds fun. Then I know it seems a little early, but September is when we start getting holiday romances, and I do have one on my list for September. A Novel Christmas by Charity Shane. This looks really cute. A prominent romance author has a slump in her love life and book sales, but a chance encounter with a hot firefighter helps her ignite her muse in this swoony holiday romance. Love it. Haunt Sweet Home by Sarah Pinsker. I really love this cover. I don't know why. This one I think is another horror haunted house story. On the set of a kitschy reality TV show, staged scares transform into unnerving reality in this spooky ghost story. This sounds really fun. I love this premise that they're staging stuff for a reality show, but then it ends up being really haunted. That's super fun. Whenever You're Ready by Rachel Runya Katz. This is a sapphic romance with two friends who reconnect on a road trip and must decide if the ultimate risk is worth taking. Lastly, we have In the Shadow of the Ship by Aliette de Bodard, who I really enjoy. This is a sci-fi novella with a mystery element to it. I love the series, and I'm excited to read more from her. Whew. So that is A lot of books. We have 3 months. How many of them will I get read? I don't know. We'll see how things go. My reading has been slowing down a little bit because I have been working doing other things instead of just being a full-time content creator. So I'm not reading quite as much as I have in the past, and I am curious to see how that sort of shakes out over the next 3 months. So wish me luck. We'll see how this goes. I think I'll probably get to many of them, if not all of them, but I will definitely read everything for the read-alongs and the book clubs and many of these other titles. So talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts on anything I talked about in this video. And for question of the day, let me know, what are your reading plans for the summer? Is there a genre that you're really leaning into? Are there read-alongs you're planning to do? Are you kind of mood reading? Do you have goals? Let me know your plans in the comments. If you like this video, it always helps if you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.